if you're an adult, you can do that to someone else's child.
Did you never get hit as a kid from other people?
Absolutely.
From the teacher, I got smashed.
I got my knuckles rapped by nuns. They would hit you on the knuckles with a ruler.
So did you grow up in strict Catholicism?
Well, Catholicism is always strict.
Is it?
What?
Well,
Catholicism?
No, but I'm saying like you could have a Catholic family. You went to a Catholic school, but you didn't.
No.
Did you go to church on Sunday?
Yes, we did not. I did not go to Catholic school. I went to catechism. That was Catholic instruction that you went to on Sunday before church. But I went to regular public school. But my mother was Jewish. Not that I really knew that as a child.
You didn't know that?
No. It's the first scene in my Religulous documentary. I interview my mother at the church that we used to go to. Why they let us do that? That church was not smart that day, back in 2007. But they let my mother and my sister and I sit in the church and have this discussion, a very anti-Catholic discussion. And I asked my mother, I said, why did I not know this? And it's just so indicative of how when you're a child, whatever is going on, you just accept as normal because you don't know any better. It's why when kids get abused at that age, they very often don't say anything because you have nothing to compare it to. You don't know what's wrong that your uncle is touching you. My uncle was not touching me. This is not what happened to me. But the fact that I went to church every Sunday with my father and my sister and my mother always stayed home, it never even occurred to me to ask why until it just came up one Christmas, as I recall. I was 13. And I'm like, why don't you go to church? And she said, because I'm Jewish. I'm like, you're Jewish? And she said, well, I mean, culturally, I've never been in a temple. She's never been in a temple.
Did you not know her parents? Your grandparents?
Well, she did not have a father. She was my grandmother. Her mother was a real ahead of her time flapper in the 20s.
A Jewish flapper.
A Jewish flapper, and flapper, I mean, whatever it was back then, I think that was the word. But she told me once that she drove and the men would yell at her. They would yell from the other car, because this was
the way to meet.
No, they were yelling at her because women shouldn't be driving at all.
Oh, wow. Can you imagine a time when it was tough on women? Can you
when
even
women's
imagine?
rights were taken away?
That time is sometimes now.
Yeah.
Thursday. Last Thursday.
I mean, that's an exaggeration.
Yeah,
I always say, let's live in the time we're living in.
It's not fun.
There's still lots of things that are wrong with our society, but there's also a lot of faking about, it's not 1950 anymore.
But let me ask you, so you have a sister. Are you close to your sister?
Let's not pretend.
Are you close to your sister?
Yeah. I mean,
is she married?
No. In our way, we're close, we're very different, but, I think we have a great relationship.
Did she have children?
No,
not
to my knowledge.
Wow. What was in the Maher house that you guys didn't want to continue in that cycle of neighborhood?
Well, I don't, I mean, you'll have to ask her. I'm not going to answer for her. I know for me, I didn't like children when I was a child.
You didn't like yourself?
And I didn't like, well.
What do you mean you don't like children?
We all, as children, we're all insecure and we all have issues with ourselves, of course. But I just I wasn't a child lover. I didn't like cartoons. Like, for example, I didn't like childlike things. I thought cartoons were like childish, and I still think that, except for like Family Guy. Love that one. But like generally, I don't like cartoons. I would only watch like film shows like Superman, Three Stooges, things that were live action. I just didn't like children, and I still don't. I just they're dumb.
They start off
dumb. They're not sophisticated. They're disgusting when they're really young. I mean, It's just snot and puke and shit, and it's just.
But really old people are like that again.
Well, it depends on how you treat yourself. That can happen, yes. And if it gets to that point, I hope someone just takes me out because, I don't want to like wake up in a pool of my own gross. But